From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Good morning, fine people. It is great to have you here. You are looking just lovely today. I'm so proud of you for taking a shower. You clean up so nicely. It's great to have you here. Whether you are checking in from Tennessee or in from Eastern Kentucky or South America, Japan, it's just wonderful to have you here. We are doing a live taping of the Badass Counseling Show podcast. And I am joined by my team. Today, Sophia the artist is in absentia, but I have KC in the booth as per usual, monitoring all things, keeping things in order, and sitting right next to me is Rob, the handsome Rocket.
Yeah, that's right. Seems you've been traveling a lot, Sven. All these places people are checking in from. It seems like you've been there lately.
Well, road trips, you tend to hit bumpity along the way and see the pretty sights and so forth. And I've got another one coming up. You know, Rob, I'm about to be a grandfather of twins.
It's so exciting. It's so wonderful.
Yeah, in about, I think about 10 or 11 days or whatever. And they're going to be born. And so a little road trip before that. Out on the West Coast, and then later this month, I'm going to be out in the Denver area, and I have a niece getting married. They're doing a cowboy wedding, Rob.
Have mercy. I got the hat for you, but it didn't fit.
No, it didn't. I have a giant melon.
My hat.
I'm looking forward to this one. Cowboy wedding, and up in one of the ski resorts, whether it's Aspen or Vail or Breckenridge, whatever it is. I'm very excited about that. But enough chitty chat. Let's get to work. Rob, what do you say?
Go for it.
All right, here we go. We are live right now on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Facebook. And I am here to answer your questions. And so we're getting started. Jack says, my 22-year-old daughter is always mad at me. I'm trying to be patient, but she's rude. She says I have to change. Jack, as a parent of kids in their 30s, I've been where you are, and I get it. It's not just daughters. Sons can be a whopping pain in the ass. All right? I was a whopping pain in the ass. My 4 brothers, my sister, it's part of it. I heard something the other day that I want to share with you guys, and I got it on my number one news source, TikTok. And I thought it was just genius, and I would love to take credit for it, but I can't. And it was by a therapist over on TikTok, and I have forgotten her name, but she gave the most pithy, simple, clear, clean understanding. When your children are teenagers, and I extrapolate into their 20s as well, you have to change animals. See, for the first 10, and now this is sort of my addition to her whole equation is the animal part, but for the first 10, 12 years of your life, sometimes it can go a little longer, your children expect you to be they want you to be a dog, a puppy. Right? Let's play. You're up in their lap. Pet me. I'm going to pet you. I'm going to lick your face and so on and so forth in your face. And like puppies and dogs are, I have 3 dogs. My Ridgeback wants nothing to do with that. But my 2 Morkies, my girlfriend's Morkies, it's like, pet me more. They want you to be the dog and be just loving all over them. When they are teens and in their 20s, you have to become a cat. What do cats do? They're somewhere over there on the other side of the house. And when I want to pet the cat, I will pet the cat. Exactly. That's Carly, the studio cat. And the truth is, they don't want to have to give you energy. They don't want to be your friend per se. They want you to be dependable, to be there, to take care of yourself, to have your own life, but to know they can always come back to you and pet you, so to speak, and that you're all just dependable and in their life. And so when your 22-year-old daughter, Jack, says, you need to change, she's not wrong. And the evolution that has to occur isn't just from dog to cat, but it's the evolution from fundamentally, the way I characterize it in my language is from expecting the child to pour love into my love cup, which is what it is when it's 2 puppies. They're both giving love to each other, right? And when we had those relationships, you know, if you called your child your buddy or your mini-me or whatever, and you had an intimate relationship, you were getting love and energy from them. The child does not exist to give you love. You exist to give the child love, and you have to change the form in which you give it love. You have to begin to reconceive what parenting is, and you have to make it about figuring out what their love languages are, not just the languages themselves, but the timing, the speed, and so forth. The relationship during teens and especially 20s isn't just about what you want to be as a parent anymore. Because if you're going to evolve into an adult, somewhat adult relationship where the imbalance between adult and child is less, all right, where it's becoming a bit more equal, you have to be willing to let go of power, let go of control, let go of getting what you want, but also let go of making it about your needs and what you think their life should be. And that's a difficult one. Next question. Here we go. All right. Sandy Braun on Facebook is asking a similar question, so I'm just going to take this one real quick because it dovetails into what Jack was asking. Marriage headed to divorce. College kids are angry with me. Husband is doing his best to alienate them from me. How can I maintain my relationship with them? College kids. Again, what I was saying, dog versus cat. If you are wanting to maintain the relationship with them, my first question would be, is it about you wanting a relationship with them? Or is it that you want to be fundamentally of service to them? That's the difference between a dog and a cat. That because in a relationship, I'm getting something from it. And if the goal is to be there for our kids, it's about I'm pouring love into their love cup, helping them to meet their needs. So you really have two different questions going on. They're angry with me, and husband is doing his best to alienate them from me. You have to do everything in your power to what I call counter message. You have to be putting a counter message into your child, not necessarily, gee, he's bad, but you have every right to defend your worth, tell what your side of the story, of any story is, their story, their past, their life, etc. They need counter messaging from you. Otherwise, they will believe what they are being told, largely. They need to have to sift out two stories. The younger a child is, the harder it is to, do that, but they'll still do it. But those children need the counter message. They need to know the truth about your goodness and what you have done for them or how you do value them and so forth. And then in the end, it's fundamentally not about maintaining a relationship with your kids. It's about you being there to serve the needs of your kids, being there in the ways they want and need you to be there. But let me tell you this, even if you do end up with some measure of alienation from your kids, even though it is not happening now, and even though it hurts, and I've lived through this alienation, all right? I've lived through it personally, counseled many, many people on it. This too shall pass. As long as you continue to be about serving and being good and being consistent. All right? You want to know why? Because your kids are going through phases, and the speed of going through phases increases during their 20s. Why? They're experimenting with who I am, what I want to become. They're having new friends, new influences. My son, when he went to college down at LSU, go Tigers, he met some guys, and some of those guys, and I got to know him. I came down for an LSU football game here and there, from the North Country or from when I was living out in California. And, his buddies, he would meet his buddies' fathers or parents, and he would be like, wow, you got cool parents. Some of his buddies met me and says, wow, I like your old man. And when we get somebody else, a friend or a lover whose opinion we respect, seeing a person differently, seeing a parent differently, it's like, oh, it cracks open our thinking. So your kids, Sandy, your kid's perspective on you, even if he tries to throw shade your way or color a story about you, is not permanent. But you need to provide counter messaging. All right, next question.
Hey, Sven, over on YouTube, we have Soul Search, who says, it seems a man's worth is tied to what he can provide. I want to be loved for who I am and not for what I can provide, trying not to be a giver because I recognize that I was trying to get love to fill my love cup, but trying to get away from that pattern. Any advice?
Soul Search, I'm going to presume that you are a male asking this question.
Seems so, yes.
Yeah. That largely, unfortunately, in this world still, especially in the United States, Western society, to the degree that I understand that outside the United States and Canada, though I don't claim to have all the answers, yes, unfortunately, to a large degree, though it is decreasing, a man is what he does and a woman is what she looks like. Is that wrong? You betcha. But is that largely influenced by our past? You betcha. All right? And so you've been getting your identity, your sense of worth, basing your love relationships on giving. And presumably you mean giving in terms of things and sharing of your hard work, your money, and so forth.
What he can provide.
What he can provide. However, what you really want to be about, and I love your handle, your name, your profile name is Soul Search. Great. I just put up a post literally 2 days ago. Did you guys see that one where it's why many women are dating men less? It's precisely because so many men aren't doing what your tagline, which your handle says you seem to be doing, and that's soul searching. That's the ability to have those deeper conversations. It's providing something else other than, gee, I am what I do. I am my ability to provide. I provide food, water, shelter. I'm a fucking man robot. I'm from the 1940s. Good generation, but mother of God, is that your full definition of self? You want to find a whole new life. Begin to be authentic. Begin to be able to account for your own emotional life and heal your own self without having to lean on the woman. You want to open up and share some of that, but your own healing should be done on your own or with your own therapist too. You want to be able to have deeper conversations. What you're providing is that emotional connection. It's a motherfucking aphrodisiac for a woman and for a lot of men too. To be able to have deeper conversations about what's really going on in me, what my fears are, without it becoming burdensome for the other person. We're just always dumping on them, but where you can also be present to their emotional needs without it overwhelming you and saying, yeah, wow, ooh, getting late, I gotta go. All right? You being able to provide that is a form of giving. So it's not that you want to stop giving per se. It's just that you want to be able to give in more ways. And what you'll discover is you're going to attract a different type of woman, a more complex women. You'll still attract ones that aren't, but you'll be able to choose from. Why? Because you have greater skills. You're just a more complete person yourself. And then the joy of giving in multiple ways increases. Furthermore, as you know your own soul better, you'll be able to draw boundaries on yourself. So I'm not over giving because I need confirmation of my worth, because look at how much I give. Instead, it'll be a reciprocal relationship. And let me tell you, folks, if you've been a giver, this goes to men, this goes to women, in whatever form you've been a giver, there are few things more life-sucking than being a strong giver, an extreme giver, in a relationship with a strong taker or an extreme taker. Yet, after you do the work of healing your own past through my work, there's a hole in my love cup, and etc., and my podcast and all my videos, or completely on your own, after you've done the work, there are few things in life more life-giving than being a giver in a relationship with a giver.
Hey, Sven, as a man of the 1940s, yes, and understanding exactly the situation you describe, I fully endorse your comments.
All right. That's firsthand knowledge right there, people. All right. Anna Vasile over on Facebook says, how to tell my kids that I am divorcing their father. It was my decision to divorce. He has bipolar disorder, and our relationship was very abusive, and finally, I have the courage to leave. First of all, I applaud you for the courage to make any major life decision, whatever it is. People don't make major life decisions easily. They don't do it, generally speaking, without reason. And no doubt you have a lot of pain and over a lot of period of time that has caused you to believe that things are not changing, and they're not going to change. And this takes courage to do, especially when you know it's going to hurt people. Your partner, that hurts because you probably still love him in many ways. That's very common with divorce, but you know you're going to hurt your children. This is going to hurt them. It is going to break them because the two people they love the very most in the world are no longer going to be together. It is going to break their hearts, period. However, broken things mend. And hardship teaches if we go into it to allow it to teach us. But you're asking one specific question: how do I tell my kids that I am divorcing their father? Well, in an optimal situation, mother and father, or the two parents, mother, father, whatever, would tell the children together. However, you don't state it that way, so presumably father wants nothing to do with it. You're going to be telling the kids. How do you tell them? You don't give the ages in your question. So what I strongly recommend, first of all, is there are books on this. Literally begin with that. Go on Google. There's no rush. Better to do it right than to rush, okay? Go on Google or go on Amazon or wherever go to your local bookseller. Better than either of those. Go to your local bookseller, small bookseller preferably, and ask for books specifically on the topic of telling your kids mommy and daddy are getting a divorce. All right? Do some research, just like you would do some research before you would do an electrical project in your house. You're not just going to fucking wing it, okay? And that's part of why you're asking me. Generally speaking, what you're going to do is you're going to pick a time and a place where you know your children are going to be relaxed and calm, where they're not amped up. Generally speaking, a lot of parents, you'll tell your kids as a group together, and you're going in assuming that you're going to have multiple reactions. Some are going to go quiet, some are going to explode, some are going to run away crying, some are going to stay there crying, some are going to embrace you, some are going to rage in your face, spit on you, yell at you. You're going to get all sorts of types of reaction. Again, a lot of this is age dependent. And you're going to sit down and you're going to be firm and compassionate and put it out there without going into too much detail. Again, age dependent. Younger they are, less detail. As they're aging, a bit more detail. And without disparaging the other person, the last thing children need to hear or want to hear, the thing that will hurt their heart most, is to hear one parent disparaging the other parent. But you do need to give them a measure of truth that will reveal what the story is, or why it's happening, a simple why. The younger they are, a simple why. Things such as mother and father are moving on with our lives, that we've had problems, and it's been very, very hard for a long time, and we still care about each other, and we both care about you very much. This has nothing to do with you. This is not your fault. And in the end, whatever the exact wording is, and you've got to go with what feels right to you, but simple, truth, clear. You've got, the most important part is you need to assume emotional blow up, emotional shutdown, which is oftentimes worse than the blow up, and that you're going to be running on that. You've got to be present to their emotional work now for a long time to come. Furthermore, what I would recommend before you tell them is get them in with a therapist, a child therapist or teen therapist, or if they're in their late teens and early 20s, recommending a therapist. But get them in with a therapist before you tell them. Why? So they're beginning to create a relationship with someone that they feel comfortable talking to, preferably before the trauma comes. And I recommend this to all parents going through a divorce or considering going through a divorce. Get your child into therapy now. Begin to create that relationship. Child therapists are some of the most brilliant, gifted, and committed people. It's a type of therapy. I do have some kids who are kids, but I'm not a child therapist by specialty. I have profound respect for them. Really do. Next question. Here we go. Devil Blues 11 on TikTok says, "Hi, Sven. Hi. How do we heal from the anger of growing up protecting a parent who trash talks us today?" All right, this is a tricky one, because if you grew up with a parent that you took care of, all right, so you were the parent, they call it parentified, right? Where you're doing the work of a parent, or even if you were taking care of younger siblings or something, a different form of doing the work of a parent. You weren't allowed to be a child. You had your childhood stolen. But in your case, you had to take care of a parent, right? So there's a complete inversion of the equation. Your life was about pouring love into the love cup of the parent and taking care of them. And so that creates a pattern and expectation. And now you're an adult and the same thing is still expected. And you are basically asking, well, now as an adult, how the hell do I heal from that? What the hell do I got to do? Okay. And I'm going to be very, very honest with you. This is going to be one of the harder things, and it requires truth. And my first question to you is, what % of the truth do you want? And you're like, well, I want 100%. Okay. Well, if that's true, then you have to be willing to be 100% honest in what you really feel towards that parent. And you're like, well, I feel X, Y, and Z. To which I say, I need you to dig down, because there's, looking back, you have to begin to look at the possibility, look at the real fact that you had an adult teach a child that you exist to serve me. Not just to serve me, but basically to wipe my ass, metaphorically speaking. You exist for me. And that who you really are doesn't matter. What matters is who you are for me. So in other words, you were raised by someone who taught you that you don't matter. You were raised by someone that taught you that you're a voice, your authentic self. Ultimately, you have to stuff that down and spend your days with me. You are, as you are unlovable. You are lovable only when in the purpose that you serve for me. Teaching that to a child is the negation of that child's worth. So ultimately, there's no fucking way in hell that the natural reaction to that is, oh, okay. No, the natural reaction to that is, are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck teaches a child that they don't have worth? That their worth is strictly tied up in serving an adult? It is a form of what I call emotional incest. And I have an article on that on my website, badasscounseling.com. And you're asking the question, how do we heal from the anger of growing up protecting a parent who trash talks us today? You have to unleash all of your venom, all of your rage. You don't ever have to confront the living, breathing parent, but you do have to go into paper and pen and unleash all of the venom inside of you. You have to unleash all of the hate. And hate is a very normal human reaction to a hurtful situation. It is normal, just as normal as melancholy, just as normal as elated, just as normal as peaceful, just as normal as lethargic. It's a normal emotion. And the more you flush that out, you're asking, how do I heal from the anger of growing up that way? How do I heal from that anger? By getting it out. It's no grand formula. The reason it's not healed is because it's still in. And until the anger is out of you, it is in you. The anger, the hate, the rage, etc. And the fact that that person still trash talks you, my first question is, how do you know? And what I'm really getting at is, are you still interacting with someone who's still trash talking you and who basically you had to grow up protecting? Why are you still interacting with this person? I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's your life. Do whatever the fuck you want. But for what possible reason? It implies to me, if you are, that you're still wanting something from that person. Either that or you're hearing it through other people. And at some point you have to let go. And you want to know why you have to let go? Because the mere fact that person is trash talking you and it hurts your feelings and you're getting stirred up about it and so forth says they still have power over you. You are still wanting them to confirm your worth or at least be nice to you. And as long as you want something from, or at least stop being mean, and as long as you want something from someone, they have power over you. They have the power to withhold it. And the more you get out your rage and your anger, as well as flushing out what you are really still wanting from that adult parent, what every adult child into their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s wants if they never got it, and that is confirmation of your worth, the glory of your existence. And as long as you are still wanting it from that person, then you not getting it. And in fact, getting the opposite is going to hurt, and that anger is going to continue and continue and continue. So you're not just getting out the hatred and the anger. What you're flushing out is the longing for them to acknowledge the pain they caused you and longing for them to appreciate, accept, and approve of you. And until you get that out through your journaling and through the tools that I've created, there's a hole in my love cup, and through all, these 1,800 free videos, the free podcast, until you dive into that and flush that out, you're fucked. All right. Much more to come right after this short break.
I've read so many self-help books and I always get something good out of them. But when I dove into There's a Hole in My Love Cup, well, it changed me. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. My copy is very dog-eared and highlighted. Thanks, Sven, for writing it. I love There's a Hole in My Love Cup and believe you will also. Order your copy at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
Yes, we are back with the Badass Counseling Show. It is great to have you here. I'm Sven Erlandson, and known as the Badass Counselor because it's just too hard to say the name Sven. All right, and so the question is from Eric on Facebook: how do I stop overthinking and ruining relationships? Great question. Overthinking has the power to not just ruin relationships, but ruin careers, to lock us in, to shrink our worlds. Overthinking. And Eric is asking, how do I stop overthinking and allowing it to ruin my relationships? Overthinking is fundamentally driven by fear and pain. Why? Fear and pain that I'm overthinking, and when I'm overthinking, I'm doing one of two things. I am either overthinking something that has happened, trying to make sense of it, trying to think it out. Why did this happen? And simultaneously having conversations, mythical conversations in my head with these people in the past, or gaming out different scenarios in the past, in this event that happened in the past, wherein you're creating scenarios in your head, in your conversations with yourself, thinking it out, wherein you don't come out hurting, or you are overthinking, thinking out, gaming out in the future, potential outcomes of something happening. If I make decision A, well, this could happen. Either option 1, option 2, option 7, 8, 9, or 14 could happen. And so you game it all the way out. Well, option 2, but if I did this, but then that, then it could lead to this bad thing. Ooh, that's scary. I don't want that. Okay, well, but in option 14, it's still those same 3 sequences of things. But then this person could say that would hurt, but it wouldn't hurt too much. But then I could think it up. Ultimately, overthinking is driven by pain and the fear of more pain. Past pain, potential pain, or present pain, or potential future pain. Overthinking is an attempt to get past pain out of us by creating new scenarios to old things that happen. And overthinking is created by basically trying to game out scenarios where I don't get hurt in the future. Why does it ruin relationships? Why? Because we're thinking so much that we're not present. We're so stewed up in our fears, in our worries. And in a relationship, well, what form does overthinking take? I wonder if she's cheating on me. I wonder if she said she's going to work. Is she really going to work? It only takes her 25 minutes to go to work. Why is she not there yet? It's been 32 minutes and she hasn't texted me. And normally she texts me when she pulls into the parking lot at work, and the brain just fucking goes. Well, why are you thinking about that? Because I am afraid that she might be cheating on me. And that would hurt. Well, why would it hurt? Because it's a rejection of me, motherfucker. Ow. It's fundamentally her saying to me, you don't matter. You're not good enough. And that would hurt. The overthinking in a relationship, the fear of getting hurt, let's say in that case, fear of being cheated on, or fear that you might leave me, or fear that I'm not good enough, or fear that I won't look good, or fear that she or he, just thinks I'm not pretty enough, or, oh gosh, I can't have sex with the lights on because then he'll see, these wrinkles that are developing. I'm 44 now and I'm getting my first wrinkles and gosh, he's not going to like it. Let's turn the lights off. Because what if he doesn't? But then what happens when I go to the bathroom? Okay. And I have to turn the light on for the bathroom. He sees me coming out, overthinking. And it just kills shit. Overthinking is driven always by fear of pain. Fear of getting stung again by a pain, something in the past. And it's also driven by the messages from the past that you're unlovable, you're not good enough. And so I don't want to experience something again in the future that might remind me of, that might trigger all those memories from the past that have those strong emotional charges attached to them, which is why the cure for overthinking is to go into the past, all of those memories, and to begin the work of decharging them. For those of you who took, physics and chem and physics and the sciences, even the most basic of sciences back in high school, what do we know? A nucleus is surrounded by what? It's surrounded by electrons swarming around it. That's the electrical charge. It's the electron, right? That's what a memory is that has an emotional charge. It's the same fucking thing. That's what gets you all worked up when somebody triggers you. Right? Somebody cuts me off in traffic, I get fucking triggered, man. I still do. I do my fucking work on it. I'm getting better, though. I'm mellowing out in traffic. And I tell you, why? Because it's the other person saying, fuck you, I'm better than you. I get better than you. And it's just like, ooh, I'm better than you. Well, that messaging goes back to, partly goes back to, fucking childhood athletics. We had a bunch of athletes in our school district, and we were blue-collar school district. And we had a bunch of kids who were just exceptional athletes. One of them went pro. We had 2, 3, 4 Division I football players, just football players alone. I was one of them, but one of them went fucking pro football, way better than me. I was always fucking number 2, even in the state tournament in wrestling. What happened? I lost in the state finals. I took second. So there's always been this fucking inadequacy, right? And being the youngest of 5 brothers and a sister, it's just like, somebody's always better. Somebody's getting in me on traffic. It triggers that, right? So there's always some new rivet of healing that I have to do in my past, right? But what's happening is that there are memories in the past that have to be decharged because those electrical charges, electrical, so to speak, in quotes, right? That's what's being electrified when something sets you off. So the way we begin to less overthink is by going into, just make a bullet point list. Start by literally just making a bullet point list of every single memory that you have in your life that has any sort of negative emotional charge attached to it. Particularly the stories, in your case, Eric, of all the things that hurt you in relationships. Somebody left you, somebody turned you down, or even when you ask somebody out, you're too tall for me. I don't like, guys that are bald, Sven, or, whatever. You wouldn't have been bald back when you were 12, hopefully. Although maybe it was cool. Point is, it's going back into all the memories from your past that caused you pain, particularly vis-a-vis relationships, and beginning to journal about those and the feelings that went along with those. And the more you do that work of flushing that out, the less you will have fear of pain in the future in these relationships. You decharge, you become less overthinking by decharging the fear of the pain. How do we have less fear of the pain? By going into the original pain and flushing it out. All right, let's go.
Hey, Sven, from the booth.
Yep.
KC submits this from Facebook.
KC, wow. What do you have to say, KC? You're speaking. This is nice.
She submits this from Carolyn Schultz.
Okay, Carolyn.
And Carolyn says, have a dismissive, aggressive husband who avoids any responsibility for his actions, which are not kind. Been filling my cup to be strong enough to make healthy boundaries. It's a struggle some days. Any thoughts for healing? Have been journaling, and yes, it is helping.
Okay. Carolyn, the first question I'd be asking you is, you say you're using your journaling for the healing. That's great. The first question I'd be asking you is, how violent is your journaling? Now, you're not going to be able to ask that question, or answer that question to me, but how violent is your journaling? And I mean that very seriously. And what I mean by that is, do you rage when you are journaling? If someone is being really fucking dismissive of you, not taking responsibility in an intimate relationship, blowing you off, or even being diminutive towards, treating you in a diminutive way, condescending, or just blowing you off, it's hurtful. Because the underlying message that they are sending to you is, you don't matter. Your words don't matter. Your existence doesn't matter. Screw you. I'm not going to fucking listen to you. Fuck off. Go fuck yourself, right? One of the natural reactions, two of the natural reactions to a situation where someone is sending the message to you that you don't matter, two of the very normal human reactions would be, ow, that hurts, and I'm sad, and ow, that hurts, and go fuck yourself. I want to wring your fucking neck, metaphorically speaking. So what needs to be coming out in your journaling, in your physical responses when you're alone, is sadness and rage, anger. And I'm willing to bet there, Carolyn, that you probably struggle with one or the other. Is it the sadness or is it the rage, the anger? Whichever one it is that you struggle with more, focus on that one in your journaling. And let's just say it's the anger, because a lot of women struggle with getting that anger out. Then you need to start with, I'm so fucking pissed at you, or I hate you for. And you need to allow yourself that anger. Now, maybe it's sadness. Then, that you're used to being tough and angry a lot, but letting out that sadness is harder because you feel weak, or you feel, you just don't want to touch it because it hurts too much. Those are the things that you have to get out. And the more you flush out all the emotion is what's causing you to question your own decision-making and cause you to really allow it and not walk away, or allow it and not draw harder boundaries. But the more you flush out your own pain and sadness and rage over it, as well as if you can get down into the core beliefs, but that's a separate issue. But the more you get down into this and flush this out, you're going to become clearer, you're going to become stronger. And the dynamic, though I don't like using that word, the dynamic in your relationship with your husband is going to begin to change. You're going to begin to have more power. You're going to feel it. It's not going to be conjured. It's literally going to be there. It's just going to become fact of life. By the way, Carolyn, I strongly recommend, if you haven't already, you need to read the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, because it'll shake you the fuck up inside, and it will begin. If you have the courage to do the inner work, you will begin to change. And he will begin to sense the change in the relationship, because you will get stronger. But this requires brass balls to go into it. All right, next question. Here we go. The Hook on TikTok asks a question. See, now we're sort of swerving hard into my lane of spirituality, soul counseling, and my former life as a clergyman. I was a Lutheran pastor off and on for 15 years. I've had many books published in the field of spirituality, and specifically in the field of theology, religion. I was the very first author in the world to write a book on the spiritual but not religious movement. Some folks have said that I coined the phrase. I have not, but if you go to Wikipedia, spiritual but not religious, my name is right there on like 2 paragraphs down as having been the first person to write on it in detailed explanation, a thorough book on it. This person, The Hook, asked the question. So all of that is a setup to answer this question. Since it's all over my FYP, my For You page, those of you who aren't familiar with TikTok, since it's all over my For You page on TikTok, I'm curious about your thoughts on James Dobson. Right. James Dobson has been around. He is a Christian evangelist / teacher, not so much evangelist, teacher / writer / voice, sort of traditional Christianity. And he's been around for a very long time. He's got probably 20 years on me. And been around a very long time and has done a lot of good for a lot of people. I will say that about James Dobson. I will also say that a lot of his stuff on the theological side, I'm not going to get into a theological discussion because this is not a theological show. I radically disagree with theologically. But this isn't a theological show, so who gives a shit? You don't say specifically what about, but to be very honest with you, both my father was a Lutheran pastor. 4 of my uncles were Lutheran pastors. One of them was a missionary in Ecuador for over 25 years back in the 50s, 60s. My mother, however, also taught at the graduate level in the field of early childhood education and ran very, very large education programs in some very large churches. And so her work was very much, we read it, she read it, I read it, and so forth, but took a different turn from Dobson. I'm not going into great length on him, but while I respect the people that he is helping, and I respect anyone who is helping people, there's a lot in his work that I don't agree with. All right, next question. All right, go ahead, Rob.
Sven, over on YouTube, Andrea says, how do we know it's love and not a trauma bond? I've drilled down. I'm waiting for my partner to save me because my dad didn't. We've been together for 10 years and I'm questioning things. I care about him 100%, but not sure on love.
How do we know it's love and not a trauma bond? Words like trauma bond and gaslighting and fucking so many other words, I'm not opposed to because it helps people find language for what they're experiencing. However, if they're so murky in their definitions that it doesn't necessarily help the equation. So if we were to just take those two, that word in particular, sort of off the table or set it aside just for a second, what I fundamentally hear you asking is, Rob, that this woman has been seeking for validation of her worth from a man because she didn't get it from her father.
Yes.
And she's in a relationship with a man that she cares very much about. And she's just trying to know, how do I know if it's love?
Exactly.
My first question to you would be, is it love? And you'd be like, that's the fucking stupidest question I just asked you, moron. I asked you for your help. And I'd say, well, tell me what it feels like. In other words, let's just go, let's cut all the clever, complex language and let's just talk. What does it feel like? Okay, well, it feels good. Is this person confirming your worth? How do they treat you? Do they hurt you? When they hurt you, do you hold your boundaries? Is it a placeholder relationship, like you're just doing it because you're waiting for something better or whatever? And you said, well, I've been looking to men to confirm my worth in ways my father didn't. Is that what you're looking to this person for? See, these are the questions you need to be writing down right now. And these are the questions you need to be writing down and answering in your journaling that you're doing with yourself. Okay, right? So you can be answering all these questions in your journaling. What are you wanting from this person?
She says, I'm chasing. He keeps running.
Okay. And well, in a way, that's your answer right there. Obviously, for him, it's not love. And it's not love for you if the other person doesn't want to give you love in return. You don't want that kind of relationship. What's the name, Tracy?
Andrea,
you don't want a relationship with someone who you don't have a relationship with and doesn't want a relationship with you. And what are his actions saying, loud and clear? Let's turn, folks, can I teach you a little trick that I teach to my clients and friends or anybody? Hit the mute button. Just hit the mute button. What are their actions saying? And his actions are, I don't want you. Go away. And Andrea, I know that hurts, and I'm not trying to hurt you, but it's just fact. It's fact. And so you are chasing someone who doesn't want you. So the idea of trauma bond aside, just putting that aside for the moment, you are chasing someone who doesn't want you. And you are doing it because you are wanting something from him. And you're wanting him to turn to you and say, I like you. Thereby, now you can bring trauma bond back into the equation. You're wanting him to confirm your worth. And so the healing that you need to be doing is going back into yourself and into your own past and asking yourself, where did I get the message? Who pressed the message when I was a child into the wet cement of my soul? Like when the highway department or the road crew in your town puts out new sidewalks and they smooth it all out, with that, I always forget the name of that tool that they have, and they smooth it all out. And then they put little sticks around it and tape so that none of the little peckerhead kids in the neighborhood will walk in it or, fucking put their handprints in it. And then they go home for lunch or they go home at the end of the day. And what happens? All the little peckerhead kids in the neighborhood come out and put their fucking handprints in it. And they get a stick and they write Tommy is a fink. Right? Well, what happened is when we are young, our souls are wet cement. And whatever messages that get taught to us explicitly or more often implicitly get pressed into that wet cement of our soul and they harden. And you got the message by a father who created trauma in your life. And no doubt mom too, and that's very often the hidden one, the other parent, gender is irrelevant. You got the message that I don't want you. You got the message you're irrelevant. You're not wanted. You're not needed. You're unlovable. You're not good enough. Who you are doesn't matter. I don't care about you. You're not important. And the child internalized that and said, and thinks I must be the problem. And so what you're looking for is someone to confirm your worth. You're doing it in your friendships. You're doing it in your work. You're doing it with your parents. You're doing it with your lovers. And that's why you keep chasing this person, wanting them to confirm your worth. And you're not alone in this here, Andrea. I used to do this. This is part of why I understand it. I lived this shit. All right? We all go through it to some greater or lesser degree. If we're doing healing work, it really boils down to some derivative of this particular equation. And so the going into self requires I recommend there's a hole in my love cup. There are other good tools out there. I just happen to think this one will take you deeper and address specifically the question of core beliefs. Next question. David Baxter asks a really great question. This is on TikTok. All right. David Baxter, you get the last question of the day. Is journaling only needed when feeling bad? I never feel like it doing it when things are going well. David, you get a gold star, motherfucker. That is a great question. I love that. And to which I answer,
yeah.
I have a question. I'm going to answer a question with a question. Don't you hate the sons of bitches that do that? What? I have a question. Well, can I ask you a question first? Do you always answer a question with a question? Why do you ask? Okay, David, my question, this is actually to all of the personal trainers out there, all of the coaches out there, anybody in the fitness industry, in the physical wellness industry, okay? And the question is this: should I only go to the gym when I'm fat? Should I only go to the gym when I wake up in the morning and fuck, I drank and I ate too much last night, I put on 3 more pounds, I better go to the gym? Or should I go to the gym even when I've lost the 10 pounds I've been trying to lose, or even when I've finally gotten the muscle tone and my knee has rehabbed? My knee rehabbed. I don't need to go to the fucking gym. Fuck the gym. Gym's for fucking dipshits. Losers like fucking badass jerk off Sven. No, you don't go to the gym if you're not fat. That's dumb. Why would you make a lifestyle out of going to the gym? That's dumb. No, of course you go to the gym. You don't just go when you're fat or when you're weak or when you're whatever. No, it's a lifestyle. Why? This is what I call it our spiritual disciplines. Doing those things that keep me in tune. I don't just do it when I'm feeling bad. Why? Why? Because I guarantee you, even on the days where you're feeling good, there's something in there. There's always something in there that I can get out that doesn't feel good. Furthermore, you're getting in the habit of a conversation with your own soul. Think of your journaling as a conversation with your best friend, and your soul is your best friend. So even if you don't feel like it, the truth is, do you have to do it every day? No. Are there going to be some days where it's just like, I don't want to fucking do it. So don't fucking do it. That's fine. Nothing wrong with it. If it feels like a burden, let it go. But do I recommend engaging in your journaling regularly, even when you, at the moment, don't feel like it? Yes. Why? Because you're probably going to get in there and realize, oh, fuck. Now that I think about it, I thought Thanksgiving meal was a happy time, but God, now that I think about it, Uncle Rodney was just being a fucking asshole. And it didn't hit me till now. Wow, you're going to uncover things, but also it's just staying in the practice, man. It's staying in the practice. It's habitualizing an action so that when something hits, you're still in the practice. One of the single biggest things I've noticed in my counseling practice is that I can pull people out of the deepest shit and not only bring them back to normal. I have no interest in bringing people back to normal, but elevating their level of normal to a higher level. So they're operating at a level that in the past would have been considered a mountaintop. That doesn't mean they're always at that level, but it's they've elevated their understanding of normal. But here's the thing. If they do not persist, after I've gotten them off my tit, which is always my goal, get people off my tit as quickly as possible. After I've gotten them off my tit, weaned them off, not cold turkey, that the single biggest problem that brings them back to my office, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is they'll come back. It's like, Sven, I've crashed again. It's worse than it ever was before. Well, of course it was, because you were living at a higher level. So the crash seems farther down. Invariably, do you want to know why they crash? It's because they stopped their disciplines, or they would just go back to the gym when they were feeling fat, so to speak. No, you've got to make it a lifestyle, David. That's a great question. And so that's that. On behalf of my team, that is all of the questions for today. I really enjoyed these questions, and I love where we ended that show. That was a really great question, a really great question. It's just like anything else, man. You make it a part of your lifestyle. Rob, what's the grand takeaway of the show for you today, young man?
Well, I once had a partner who said to me, why do you always answer my questions with a question? And I said, do I?
Exactly. Why do you ask? All right, folks. It's been really great having you here. To those of you joining us from down under, those of you from joining us in the far north and all points east and west, it's been great having you here on behalf of KC in the booth and Rob the Rocket, Sophia the artist. Have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.